All right, so let's see. I thought I would try to fix the microphone issues I was having last time by switching mics, but I'm realizing that I don't actually have a shock mount for this mic, so um, it may be prone to being really loud when I do things on my desk. So let's see how it goes. Um, I don't have a lot of time. I'm getting started much later today than I had hoped. So what I want to do, I think, is go back to the Firefox source code. Yesterday, I was taking a look at the um, the Chromium source code. So I'd like to revisit Firefox with a sense of how Chrome works in mind. So we're back at Search Fox. Um, so the Chrome search base, the Chrome code base was pretty easy to understand. I think um, the the Firefox code base I imagine is much older, or at least it started from a much older code base, and so we might expect things to be a little bit more um, uh, have a little bit of a less modern feel. There's going to be cruft that's inherited from the various ages. So Servo, I know, was an attempt to rewrite something. I think maybe the rendering engine in Rust, and then if I remember correctly, they axed the Rust team. Um, I'm not sure if they still use this. Okay, Bezier curves. Um, build Gecko. This is interesting. I think Gecko is the name of the old engine that maybe Servo was intended to replace. Um, so this is cool. I'm not going to dig too far into the Rust code right now because just because my goal right now is to understand about um, how the rest of the code works. So let's see, memory. I wonder if this is like, do they implement their own malloc? Maz alloc. They do. And Maz malloc. All right, let's take a look at their allocators. C++, Android, okay. Added memory, I assume, is throw GCC, win heap. And then Moz.build, this must be their like custom build. Let's see if I can find Moz.build. So this looks a little bit like Bazel or Blaze. So I'm wondering if they have a common ancestor. So this kind of, the syntax looks like Python. Local includes requires. I wonder if the internet will tell me. Moz.build files. By which tree metadata, notably the build configuration, is defined. Directories in the tree contain moz.build files which declare functionality for the respective part of the tree. They're actually Python scripts, however, their execution is governed by special rules. There's a Python sandbox. So I'm just curious when this was added. Build system traversal mode. In this mode, each config variable in each moz.build sandbox is populated from data coming from a config.status, which is produced by a configure. Okay. What is the relationship between this and Blaze? That's the real question. Inquiring minds want to know. So I wonder if I can do a search. Building deep search. Blah, 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 blah. Mozilla build. Why is there a bell? Don't have a bell. Okay. I'm not really finding anything. I don't know if this is how the Mozilla build system works. It would be nice if search engines would make sure to include my search terms. Okay. Yeah, okay. Let's look at the history of this one particular file. Is that interesting? No, it's not interesting. I guess I could search for moz.build in Searchfox, and then will it show me file a bug in toolkit places? Will it show me, will it link me to the source code? I mean the whatchamacallit? The git commit. Okay, whatever. So I'll let future generations untangle that. Okay, so we have this allocator. I don't know enough about allocators to know whether Moz unlikely. Okay, so they've got some xcalloc, realec. Okay. Fair enough. Volatile and replace. What does replace do? PHC. Tab with 8. Interesting. So they have this like metadata. Mode C. Oh, this is like Vim settings. Is this something you want to commit to your code base? I guess that's okay. I don't know what PHC is. Address info. Info from PHC about an address in memory. The number of PCs in the stack trace. Something about pages? I don't know. Okay, so we've got a media directory, a layout directory. Intel, I assume, is internationalization. HAL, is that related to the Linux service? Or what is HAL? Let's find out what HAL is. The public HAL API. Yeah. I think this is the what. Hardware abstraction layer. Now deprecated. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so we don't need HAL. Layout. Base build forms generic inspector. IPC. So do they define their own IP? Wait, so why is IPC in layout? I assume IPC is inter-process communication, but maybe not. Remote? Let's find out. Remote layer tree owner. It connects and manages layer trees for remote frames. Well, I don't know what a frame is, but I assume it's some sort of container for some sort of layout thing. It's directly owned by a browser parent and always lives in the parent process. Remote tree owner. We've got some compositor options, a layer manager, layers ID, texture factor identifier. Is initialized. Classic. Yeah, cool. MathML, media, SVG table style. And then XUL, I'm not sure if it still uses XUL. So this is where the CSS stuff lives. CSS container rule, CSS page rule, document style root iterator. Yeah, I'll read that. Font face. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about the font face implementation. This is all stuff I don't honestly know much about, or I don't really know anything about it. Preloaded style sheet. Yeah, rule seems. And then we've got some servo stuff. So I guess part of this is bindings to Rust. CSS.h. So what's the API? Okay, we have supports that returns a bool that tests, I guess, whether something is supported, and escape, which returns a void, and get highlights. Okay. Servo CSS supports too. Okay, so this is just calling out the servo. Return servo CSS supports to servo bindings. I assume that this is included from server bindings. If I can click on it, can I? Go to definition of server bindings. Yeah, sure. Escape. Append escaped CSS ident. Okay. So they are calling out to Rust. All right, so what is this? I opened servo bindings.h. Okay. We've got a bunch of defines. Basic rule funcs. This is, okay. I guess this is a macro. So this is kind of like meta programming the bindings with macros, I think. Is that what defines do? It's been a while since I've written a C++ macro. Define. Yep, it creates a macro. All right, cool. What is this? Document style root iterator. It's got a pointer to a node, which is the root, a style root. And it's got get next style root. And we have this 4:::, which I think there's an empty condition, right? So this is just a forever loop. If position is bigger than or equals style root's length, we return a null pointer. Okay. Sometimes you got to return a null pointer. It's not the safest thing in the world, I feel, but otherwise, NSI content is M style roots at position, M position. So we're defining next to be the M style root, and then we're incrementing position. If next is element, return next as element. Okay. If next is element. So I guess this is skipping everything that's not an element, I guess. Okay, this is font face. This is the .h file. Okay. Get weight, blah, 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 font face loading. So I think the implementation is what's going to be really involved, right? I'm not sure how people do font stuff in a cross-platform way, the way that a web browser has to. But it's actually not that it's not that involved. M-impl. What is an M-impl? It's a ref pointer to a font face implementation. What's a font face implementation? You've got some ref counting going on. GFX user font entry. So I guess it's has user font set. I really don't know what's going on. I guess ultimately it's calling out to some. So we have a font face binding, font property types, maybe mutex, font face descriptors. Font face.webidl. What is webidl? So it's the interface description language used to describe the data types, interfaces, methods, properties, and other components that make up a web application programming interface. It is a somewhat stylized syntax. What does it mean to be stylized? It's so that the underlying code, blah 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 blah. Yeah, yeah, I'll look at the specification. What I really want to see is the style. Okay. This looks like a pretty standard programming language. I'm not sure it has more style or pizzazz compared to other programming languages. Okay, so we have a Rust cell. I'm just jumping around here. So a Rust cell is, I'm just with the same layout as standard cell of T. I assume I can pronounce this of T. Maybe the Rust people can tell me otherwise. A memory, blah blah blah. Shareable, mutable containers. Okay. So it's shareable and mutable. So it's like a it's I guess it's like an abstraction of a memory cell, like a place in memory that you can pass someone else a pointer to, and they can change the thing that's in that box. Okay. I guess, when to use interior mutability. So I'm not going to dig too much into this. I don't know enough about Rust safety to have an informed sense of going on. But I'm going to imagine in my mind that it's basically a pointer to memory that has some additional guarantees. Okay. What is a rule? Rule.cp. So this is a layout style rule. Is CC leaf. Is known live. Unlinked declaration. Is this like a CSS rule? It is in Mozilla CSS. Is CC leaf. What is CC? Okay. Well, I'm not sure what's going on, but it's something CSS-ish. Okay, we've got a rule takes a pointer to a style sheet, a pointer to a parent rule, a line number, I guess the number where it's defined, and a column number. Okay. Okay. So I guess it is a CSS rule. All right. This is some of the, oh, shadow parts. What's a shadow part? I have no idea. I assume it's part of a shadow. All right. Okay. So that's where the layout stuff is. It's all the CSS stuff. Okay, DOM and doc shell. What is caps? And then browser, I think, is mostly the UI. I mean, by that I mean the UI stuff is mostly in browser. If I understand correctly. So we've got themes. So we're in browser now. We've got themes, tools, modules, browser usage, telemetry, JSM. What is JSM? Is this some form of JavaScript, right? Okay, so it's just a JavaScript file that's a module. All right, so we have JavaScript modules. Components, config, base. Let's look at base. Jar. Whoa, now. I don't know what that is. About dialog, browser.js, logos, tab browser. Okay. Wait, is the Mozilla, is the tab implementation written in, is it written in JavaScript? Huh. I wonder if I search for tab. New tab. Oh, wait, is this the new tab? This might be like the thing that comes up when you open a new tab that's like tries to show you your history and whatnot. Tables, Skia. Oh, okay. So Firefox uses Skia too, which I think we saw that Chromium does as well. Layout, tables, media, blah, 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 Android, network, protocol. Do they support Quick? Let's see, what do we got? Protocol, HTTP, view source, WebSockets, web transport, geo. I think Quick is what, HTTP 2 basically? HTTP 3? Quick socket, okay. I assume that means they support at least some of Quick. Okay. Caps. What is a cap? Something about principle. Is it something about capabilities? Content security policy. Something about security. I think maybe something related to capabilities. Okay, DOM. Animation audio channel, base, battery. Just curious how big the base directory is. There's a lot going on in web browsers, huh? I think this is why it's so hard for somebody to make a new web browser. Like if you, everyone that comes out with a new web browser, they almost invariably it's almost invariably starting from some clone or fork of the Chromium code base. And I think if I remember correctly, Chromium started with whatever the KDE browser was, or was that Apple WebKit? I think that's Apple, developed by Apple. Didn't it start as KDE? A fork of KHTML and KDE. So then, how does Chromium start? Yeah. Okay. So Microsoft Edge, Samsung Internet, Opera, and many other browsers are based on Chromium code. So I think the reason there's just so much involved in coding up a web browser that it would take years just to get like table stakes. And the Google Chromium code base I think is newer. It uses more up to date patterns and standards. I think for the most part, just because the code base is newer. And so that's probably why people start with Chromium. Storing users' passwords without the protection of master password. Okay. But they didn't rewrite it from scratch, did they? I feel like they wouldn't have, but I don't know where they would have started. Let's see. Welcome to Chromium. Unique multi-process architecture. I know I'm supposed to be looking at Firefox, but maybe I'll bookmark this page and take a look at it later. Let's at least read through it. So we've got a resource dispatcher host, a channel proxy, render process host. So there's the main thread, a bunch of hosts, some channels. I guess this is for IPC. WebKit. Yeah, so they must have started with WebKit too. Okay, so whatever KHTML was up to, I guess people liked what they were doing more than they liked the Firefox code base or whatever. I'm not, I wasn't there. I don't really know the details. I'm just trying to understand. So, not sure if that's 100% correct. Okay. So here's the DOM base in Firefox. Canvas, Chrome, WebIDL. So Chrome in this context, in the Firefox code base, Chrome was a concept for the browser, like front-end UI stuff that predates the Chrome or Chromium web browser. So that's, Chrome is named that way because browser Chrome already existed as a concept. Clients, crypto. Hey, let's look at crypto. Debugger, file system, file handler, flex, gamepad, geolocation, grid, HTML. This is kind of a flatter directory. There's a lot going on in this DOM directory. WebSocket, web share, web scheduling, workers. I wonder if it would make sense to kind of try to organize this a little bit more hierarchically, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know. All right, crypto buffer, crypto key. Can you have a completely algorithm agnostic class for a key? Key type, unknown, secret, public, private. Key algorithm proxy. That's a pretty different API then, maybe than I would have expected. I would have expected in the general API to at least say like, is this an AEAD algorithm or that sort of thing. So we get some of that. We get that AAD stuff in SSL params, telemetry, and PKCS11. So this stuff that I'm seeing is, I think, pretty far down in the weeds of the crypto stack. But at a high level, it seems like they have a really generic interface. Third-party Rust. Okay. All right. Well, that's about all the time I have. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there.